Okay, picture this. You completely dismantle a broken global supply chain, and as a result, you walk away with a staggering 300% lift in profit margins. Sounds a little hypothetical, right? Well, actually, it's exactly what a company called FarmScent achieved recently. And in just a few minutes, we're going to break down exactly how they pulled it off. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're exploring the engine behind that kind of massive structural transformation, SaaS application development services for scalable growth. We're going to dive specifically into how custom cloud-based software solutions are just completely redefining how modern businesses operate, how they scale, and ultimately how they succeed. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover what SaaS actually is, the core features and benefits, the 9-step development process, some really cool industry uses, and then we'll wrap it all up with that real-world success story I just teased. So, Section 1. What is SaaS development? At its core, SaaS application development is about building cloud-based software delivered right over the internet. But it's way more than just that. It's about fundamentally removing infrastructure overload. You aren't buying these massive server racks anymore or worrying about localized hardware limits taking up physical space in your office. You're letting the cloud do all the heavy lifting, and that allows your business to scale dynamically, totally removing the friction of legacy IT systems. The structural advantages of this setup are honestly brilliant. Because it runs natively on the cloud, it can support multiple users instantly. Nobody has to install cumbersome software directly onto their personal devices anymore. Plus, it offers incredibly flexible setups, whether you need a public, private, or hybrid hosting model. It's literally built to scale. But using microservices and load balancing, if your user base suddenly explodes overnight, your system isn't going to crash. And with dedicated DevOps integrated right into the architecture, that means software updates are pushed out much faster and far more smoothly. Moving right along to Section 2, the core features and benefits. Building a secure, modern platform really requires some specific mandatory building blocks. We're talking about having a highly scalable architecture paired with rock-solid, secure data management. You absolutely need seamless API integration so you can connect with your other essential business tools. And, of course, a really user-friendly UI and UX. Because let's face it, if it's frustrating to use, your team simply won't adopt it. But for a true business application, the absolute most crucial features are a multi-tenant architecture and role-based access control, or RBAC. This guarantees that a provider can serve thousands of different clients on one single platform, while making sure every individual user's data is strictly isolated, totally secure, and only accessible by the exact right people. So, the big takeaway here is comparing those expensive, super rigid traditional setups against the immense flexibility of the SaaS model. Think about it. Traditional infrastructure requires incredibly high initial setup costs, constant hardware maintenance, and physical limits that essentially bottleneck your growth. Now compare that to the SaaS benefits. You've got significantly lower infrastructure costs, a wildly accelerated time to market, and the ability for your users to access the platform anytime, anywhere, with zero physical boundaries. It is, without a doubt, a total paradigm shift in how we build businesses. All right, Section 3. Let's look at the 9-step development process. Phase 1 is all about planning. This covers discovery, requirement gathering, UI/UX design, and architecture planning. This phase is absolutely critical because every single functional need and cloud infrastructure detail is meticulously documented before anyone writes a single line of code. It totally prevents those costly pivots down the road. Taking the time to properly architect the system right up front, that is exactly what separates a really stable, scalable product from a totally chaotic launch. Let's move to Phase 2 and see how this builds into execution. Step 5 kicks off with API integration, which seamlessly connects your new software to your existing enterprise tools. Then we jump into agile development, where the team builds the custom app in rapid, iterative sprints. Step 7 is all about rigorous security and testing, ensuring a totally stable, bug-free launch. Then Step 8 is your actual deployment and launch across whatever cloud infrastructure you chose. And finally, Step 9 covers ongoing support and optimization. It's a really proven end-to-end blueprint designed to guarantee your platform performs at its absolute peak. Which brings us to Section 4, industry uses and hiring models. Let's see SaaS in action. What's really fascinating here is seeing exactly how custom SaaS uniquely solves major operational bottlenecks across completely different sectors. The underlying tech principles are basically the same, but the applications are uniquely tailored. Like in healthcare, SaaS is powering highly secure telehealth platforms and integrating complex electronic health records. In finance, it's the engine behind massive fraud detection systems and complex billing platforms. Over in retail, you're seeing point-of-sale integrations and real-time inventory tracking. And in logistics, it's completely revolutionizing fleet management and route planning. Now, to actually build these tools, you need the right team structure. You might use a fixed-cost development team if your project scope is completely locked in and clear right from day one. But if your needs might evolve, a flexible development model lets you adjust features and integrations on the fly. Or you can even opt for a dedicated team hiring model, where a specific crew works exclusively on your platform as it continuously scales up. Having this kind of transparency and scoping really helps businesses precisely control their costs and scale their teams in a very predictable way. Finally, Section 5. Real-world SaaS success and impact. Remember that massive 300% figure from the very beginning of the explainer? Well, here is the full story. A company called FarmScent took a hard look at the $5.6 trillion global agricultural supply chain and realized it was just fundamentally broken. So they partnered with SparkOut to engineer a highly disruptive Web3 and SaaS ecosystem. And the result of this custom development? They connected buyers directly to farmers, successfully onboarded over 200,000 verified farmers, and completely eliminated the 90% middleman margin. This direct connection is exactly what drove that incredible 300% lift in profit margins for the farmers. This just perfectly captures the profound human and economic impact a well-executed platform can actually have. Yog Shrusti, the founder of FarmScent, provided this incredibly powerful testimonial. He said, "The platform they delivered didn't just work. It dismantled the intermediaries and gave power back to our farmers." It's such a great reminder that we aren't just talking about code and cloud servers here, We are talking about using technology to completely shift power dynamics and truly optimize massive global markets. Which brings us to one final pretty provocative question for you to consider. Is your business truly ready for scalable growth? Take a really hard look at your current operations today. Are you tied down by rigid physical limitations, or are you finally ready to embrace the cloud and take that next big step? The choice is entirely up to you.